I'm making fried wontons and I'm pairing it with sparkling wine. What's up everybody, Chef Glenn B and I'm back in the kitchen, and today I'm working on fried wontons. I'm a little more casual today, a little bit different than I normally do. I'm actually gonna have some champagne and gonna have some champagne throughout the duration of me making these wontons, if you don't mind. So I've chosen to start with, because this might not be the last bottle, it's the first bottle, but it might not be the last. But I'm starting with the Schramsberg, the 2014 Schramsberg J Schram Blanc. This is Schramsberg's Tête de Cuvée, which is their flagship wine. And I love Schramsberg. You've seen or a number of my almost 100 videos, and you'll find that I've done some Schramsberg in the past. Love the Schramsberg wines. All right, let's see what we're working with on this J Schram. A little more expressive on the nose than I imagined it being, and really, these sparkling wines are so cold that when you open them, initially it's hard to get anything on the nose. But I'm getting a little pear, little Granny Smith apple. And on the palate, it's like apple juice. The initial reaction that I'm getting, or the initial anything that I'm getting from this on the palate, is apple. That was like I make apple juice all the time, and that was like fresh apple juice. Really good. All right, so let's get into these fried wontons. There's a bit of a story behind these fried wontons. As you know, I reside in California, and I've been in California for the most part off and on since I was in elementary school, since I was a really small child. And I got a lot of my culinary passion in California, and a lot of that culinary passion starts very early on, and one of those influences was an experience I had with wontons. And I'm gonna get into that story. All right, so putting the wontons together, there are two proteins that I'm using. I'm using ground pork and I'm using shrimp. I had large shrimp that I chopped into pieces, and these pieces are not tiny pieces. I mean, it's really nice and chunky. So into this bowl, I'm gonna go ahead and add my two proteins, the pork and the shrimp. And I'm gonna get those mixed together. And I've got some things over here that I'm gonna add to it once I get it mixed together, but let's get this mixed together first. So as I mentioned to you, when I moved to California very early on, I had a lot of food influences. I mean, I came out here and saw the fields of food everywhere, and it was amazing. I mean, I saw artichokes for the first time and lemons growing on trees for the very first time, and had been exposed to all different types of culture. First time meeting all different types of Asian people, Japanese people, Korean people, Chinese people. My first exposure to Mexicans. Just a cultural plethora that I had going on as a youth. So to this shrimp and pork mixture, I've got some Chinese rice wine, really good soy sauce, sesame oil, and I've got some white pepper. Let me get that mixed together. So as a youth, I lived in a little town called Marina, California. And one of my neighbors was a little old Japanese lady. And she would share food with us sometimes. And one particular day, she came and she knocked on the door and she had a plate with paper towel and paper towel covering it. And she said she had wontons that she wanted to share with us. And they were fried wontons, and she had a little soy-based dipping sauce in another little bowl. And I had those fried wontons, and man, to this day, that's one of the best things that I have ever had. And that was one of my many culinary influences. I've got some green onion I'm gonna add to this. All right, so one last ingredient that I'm gonna add to my wonton filling is a little bit of cornstarch, just a teaspoon. It's gonna help to absorb some of the moisture in this filling mixture. You don't want a lot of excess moisture inside the wontons. And so with those wontons, for a long time I had yet to try to recreate them. And finally I did. And I tell you, the memories just flooded back in. So I've got my filling mixture put together. It's quite simple. I'm gonna set this aside, and I've got a dipping sauce that I wanna put together. I remember tasting those wontons. I remember that was actually the very first thing that I ever tasted that was Asian, ever, in life. I mean, I could point back to the very first Asian dish that I had. And after that, I had numerous memories. I mean, I remember a whole nother story where I was taken to Chinatown in San Francisco for the first time at about 8 years old and experiencing Chinese New Year. Oh, sensory overload. But I've got some hot water and some sugar. The water's hot because I want to dissolve this sugar. I've got some tamari, which is really good quality Japanese soy sauce. Rice wine vinegar. Chili oil. Sesame oil. Fresh garlic. Sesame seeds, toasted sesame seeds. And I've got some minced chives. Get all of that mixed together. See what that tastes like. Delicious, just like I thought it would be. That soy, the garlic. Now, as it sits, that garlic is gonna permeate the sauce and it's gonna really flavor the sauce. In addition to that, the chives is gonna flavor it. But right now, just initially, that soy and the finish of sesame oil. Oh man, I love that finish of sesame oil. Delicious. All right, so I'm ready to wrap my wontons. My recipe has evolved a little bit. My filling, I tried to get as close as I could to what I remember tasting in Marina all those years ago. Again, I was very young, and I waited until, I won't say how much later, how many years later, because I'll date myself. But many, many years later, I waited to try to reproduce this recipe. But I tried to get as close as I could. All right, so I've got my wonton wrappers here. And I've got a teaspoon. Now with this, you don't need a lot of filling in these. Just a little bit. I'm gonna lay a few of these out. I'm gonna take a nice heaping teaspoon. Place it right in the middle. So I've got a little bit of water here, and what I want to do is I'm going to wet 2 edges. All right, got my 2 edges wet. Fold this in over the wet edge. Now what you also want to do is you want to make sure that there's not any excess air. You want to get all the air out of this that you can. So before you seal it off, go around the filling and press the air out. No air, or as little air as possible. All right, and then I'm gonna wet these 2 longest edges. Push this together. Bring my edges together, and I've got my wontons. Again, wet 2 sides of your wonton wrapper. Fold the dry part over onto the wet side. You can start sealing it here. Get rid of the excess air. So press out around the filling first before you seal it completely. Push the air out. I'm gonna wet these 2 ends. Press together and seal it up. If you're enjoying the video, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. All right, so I got all of my wontons wrapped up. As you can see, nice little bit going on there. Now these are good for an appetizer. They're also good for a meal. Now let me tell you, any Asian family dinner that I've ever been invited to was a spread, okay? So I went in and there was some of this and some of that and some of that. There might have been 10 dishes on the table. So this is a perfect accompaniment to a larger meal, I think. But also, again, the appetizer. It's a great appetizer. It's something that you can have that's being passed. Fantastic. All right, so I've got my oil heated to 325 degrees. We don't want to go too hot with this. We want to make sure that we cook the contents of the filling before everything else starts to burn. So we want to go a little slow. 325 degrees is perfect for that. This should only take about 2 minutes or so. I mean, there's such a small amount of filling in there, and these are so small, it shouldn't take any more than about 2 minutes. Now, just for nostalgia's sake, I gotta put them in the paper towel. Get them drained off. That's for nostalgia's sake. But we're gonna plate them here. My fried wontons are done. I'm ready to taste. Right into the dipping sauce. Let's go. So flavorful. The combination of the pork and the shrimp just takes it over the top. I know traditionally, a lot of times you find that they only have pork in them. This is fantastic. And that sauce got a little bit of heat to it. Nice little bit of spice, not overbearing heat. That's good. Because of the fact that I've said this is a great appetizer, really good party food, it's gotta pair with this. Just like I thought it would. This is so universal in pairings. Sparkling wine, when you're running into a quandary about what you're gonna pair something with, sparkling wine is always a good bet. This is fantastic, but you know, I gotta double check. So crispy. The filling is nice and juicy and fatty. That pork leaves a nice little fat on your tongue, your lips. Very tasty. That is indeed a perfect pairing. I'm Chef Glenn B, and as always, eat well.